Like with Erich now, right? But we were called, Schallmeier was never used. Hosenmoor. Hosenmoor. When we were born, was Hosenmoor. Everyone had a land's name. Right? I was born in 1935. And my father died in 1938. So I can't really remember him. He had an operation and it went bad. And he died in 1938. Yes, I miss him because all I remember is he's sitting under the table more or less. When he comes home, you're waiting, he comes home. At that time, we were saying, the war started in 1938. And I was 3 years old. We had no school system. We often on school, only ladies know what a lady was women. Was women because the men were at war. And the men, whoever, got einrücken, müssen einrücken, was the word, right? Erich was a central big firm. And to get in, you had to be someone in there already. Because they had a system, and it was a good system, that apprenticeship or labourship or whatever, but the first words were, they looked after us. They had to look after us, not in a big way, but their oldest brother at that time, he was accepted apprenticeship, he was fit and turner. Herman, he got a job, he finished the apprenticeship, he was a carpenter. So, and then the war started, and France had to go to war. We had no idea what's going on, right? We had no connections to anything, to any other countries, or except the stories I heard when my brother came home. France, he got a lung shot. He came home a reputation, like what you call a rehabilitation, and I still remember him having that square tin of biscuits, right? And I'm sitting on his lap. And he was feeding me these biscuits, right? So that's what I remember of him, right? And until later on, when the words came that he got killed, and we had a service in the church, and he's listed. They have a remembrance stone, and his name is listed there in Neukirchen. There was no church in Neuenmühl, so there was a church, right? And that's why I was christened. And that's why we had the service for France. Anyway, go back to in that time also. It was very dangerous to live living. There was always 1 or 2 Nazis in the community. And we had to watch people if I said something or listen to the radio. They ended up in the KZ in Ebensee, big one. And so we had to sit there, and you had to wait if you were already fine, if they could see a little bit of light. So go outside, check that there's no light was showing, everything dark, right? And we sit outside there and keep an eye on it if someone comes or not, right? And inside, they were listening to that old radio, like English was speaking to us. And so this was their life, right? And then come near the end where it was getting serious, right? And that's where the bombing started near the end of the war. They still bombed some of the places. A lot of the army were retreating already, right? So that was when they, about 11 o'clock, they would come, the bombers, fortress. They come over like a cloud. You could hear them already, because once they come over the mountains, you should have seen it's just like a swarm of bees coming across, And they're in a certain level because they were bombing at Bochum. So the bombers all were in formation, and they came and then opened the doors. The bombs came down not straight, they came down in an angle, which they went out to Bochum. That was about 15 or 20 kilometers out, so yeah. And we could hear the tremor and so on. But the fighting that was, never forget, was all of a sudden you hear that sound. And then all the fighters from the bombers spread out and the fighting went on, right? But still they got 1 or 2 or 3 planes down. One was very close to us, right? And we saw it coming down. The first thing we did, of course, was run in. As a kid, you do that, right? But what we saw was tremendous. We were used to it somehow. It didn't it didn't register. All we were interested was the ammunition from the machine guns, right? And then work on them, take the points out and so on and so on. Anyway, that was sort of at the end of it anyway, like sort of the retreat. And then I would say that was the end of the war where the bombing at Bochum. And then we watched, sitting on top of the hill, watched in American army marching in. And a little mountain track, not the sea, there was just a track coming in there. And around the corners, the tanks would go first. We watched it clearly. It was just a game, and then, the signal, come, then go further. That's how they went through, They didn't have much resistance, but they did have resistance in Ebensee. That's the end of Downsee, where there's a lot of tunnels. They still had resistance there, right? But otherwise not much, So that's what I know of the wartime. Wow. And then, of course, we had no school. Not the entire war, but there was only women left. There was no man anywhere, Some of my neighbors lost 5 boys. Everyone had a lot of children, right? Someone married one of the sons there. He came back. Anyway, they were coming back then as cripples, The schools were used as lazarettes. And there were even what do you call it, double-deckers in the school. And then we shot my brother, right? We had a machine gun. We had more than a dozen, the guns itself. Because they were the retreat, they were only hiding and putting it away. And we were even on the trees. And we bring them down, we collected them, right? We had also 2 Lugers, right? 2 or 3 Lugers, right? A Luger is the handgun, the German handgun, right? And this is where we collected them, we applied with the guns, right? And we applied with the guns, cleaned them all the time, they were polished, right? And Max, he's still alive too now, I talked to him. This is where he shot my brother. And the thing was, we loading in, and Max said, I was sitting here, just on the right-hand side, Roman on the other bank, the big timbered bank, Max opposite, right? And he said, he shoots in battle, Danny. I shoot at you both, right? And I still now see the flames coming past me, right? And Roman jumping up, right? And must have got the artery down here in the groin. Blood was everywhere, right? So ripped it down. Ottoman was there, and Max, who shot him, he ran away, of course. He ran across the bridge just to him and throwing the gun into the river, right? And Ottoman and I, we took down his pants and wrapped up a towel and put it tight in there, and we had this little Leiterwagen. With these small Leiterwagens. And we ran 3 with him to the school, which was a lazaret, right? Yeah. And we would say, Roman, hold on, Roman, hold on, Roman, hold on. And he was thinking away on us, right? They saw us already coming from the hospital, right? And they knew what was going on, because it wasn't the first one, right? But it was a clean shot. He was out in over a week, he was out. It was nothing new. It was part of the war, part of our living, right? Part of our outgoing. But Hans, a good friend of mine, his father was a blacksmith, and he had an anvil, right? He found a round thing, which was a hand grenade, right? And he put it on the anvil and gave it a smack. You can imagine, right? Lucky the explosion doesn't go straight up to the sides, it goes sort of in a V up. And his little brother was standing about here near the ankle. He wanted to shave his hair off, but Hans had ripped his eye off, and so he was lucky. It could have been the whole head, right? So every time I come on holiday home, Hans would come and play and we sing music. He was playing the harmonica, yes, the old one with the buttons still, right? And this was the upbringing. That was normal. We didn't know anything else, right? Incredible. Only it registers when you get older or when you get out of it. Then you know exactly what happened, and you never forget. Slowly things got back to normal, and the people were returning, the ones who returned, right? All wounded, hands missing, legs missing, so and so. And the government, they were pretty good. They gave them jobs. Like in Gmunden, he was selling the tickets for the dumper, for the ship, right? And so on, right? Or a guard outside a hotel or something like this, right? So the government was very, very good, right? To take care of them, right? It was amazing, like in the school, the teachers were only women, you know? Then the men come back too, and they were safer because we were out of hand. We were not controlled. And some of these teachers, they had a hard time controlling us, right? We were buggers, you know? So, yeah, that was another story I really could tell, but it does. And then back to normal, and then some returned, some of them not, right? Like I said, the neighbor 4, the other one 3. Those days, like the youngest from 12. Because the next door neighbor, he had about, I don't know how many, he had about 12 or something like this, but the 4 or 5 guys didn't come back. All everyone who was able were taken into the army. And at the end of the war, it's like we had that in the community, like after the war, until everything was recovering, going back to normal. And lucky my mother, she was strong. You got a backhander anytime something if you didn't know wrong. She had to be strong. We didn't realize why. And at night, I had to go for the milk because we worked everywhere, right? The milk to survive. After dark, I was crying and singing, and because I was that scared to go to the shore. I thought about the wolf getting me. Yes. And I was running sometimes. And we did some work for them. We got a bit of meat. We got a bit of this. We got this and so. That's how we survived. After spring till August or October, the cows were driven out, right? There's one farm there in the bakery where you had about 40. I had to drive out myself up on the hills to graze them there, right? And it was dark to come down. That was my job for a long time also, right? And the homework was always usually made about 10 to 11 o'clock at night. You look on the other hill, and was there a friend of mine looking after the other cows, right? And we yodel, and we pinch potatoes. We make a fire and cook the potatoes in the fire, and sit down and heat our feet. We should be our feet, and there was already the frost on it, right? There were good times, there were good times and bad times, right? And the payment was for that woman was a big farm and bakery and everything else, where my 2 sisters worked, right? She went to the shoemaker and they made me a pair of boots, shoes. Now, can you imagine? Wow. Handmade and all, beautiful. And when I went home in 1972, I still was there. I still talked with them, right? Yeah. When I went back the first time, I saw many people. So, Erich, where were you? There was a Wurzelstandel in Gmunden, right? After work, before I come home with the bus or with the machine, I have a Frankfurt sausage, right? And she was still there. And she said, Erich, who called me Erich, Erich, where were you? I said, well, a little bit far away, but I'm back for a few weeks, And Frida and Lori had to work in that farm and bakery where I drove out the cows, right? And all the bread loaves, all hand knitted. There was no machine, right? That was the bakery. they worked hard. They worked the hard when they were like slaves, you know. And when I come down from when I was finished with my cars driving in, and I was on the way home, they usually got a piece of bread for me, and sometimes a bit of speck. So my pockets were lined with grease. Yeah, these are the little things I remember, right? I mean, incredible. That's how we grew up. They had to work hard. They would work like slaves, right? Can you imagine bread making by hand? And they also had the machine to make the flours. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we get a small bucket of flour. And there's another story again. My God, I had to go begging. Yeah. And the other mill where Frida worked in another mill further out. And Mom sends me out there again, right? I remember the time, winter time. And you walk about, well, we said it's 15 kilometers. And carrying on the sledge, you know, and had the bag, and Frida was waiting and crying. She didn't want me to beg, right? So what did I do? I was in the middle. I come home, I get a backhander, or not just one. No, I had to say, Frida, I can't go. No, you know that. I know, you know that. I get such a big watching. And there was then, on the way home, there was the horses pulling a sledge with timber. So I hung on to them and went home that way, right? It just never stopping the things we did, you know, we had to do. Yeah. Survival, it's called survival. And this, you have to do what you have to do, right? But one thing I always thankful, and everyone is thankful for Mother, is everyone learned a trade. And why? My father worked in the big firm, and they would only take the sons from the fathers of work there, right? And they looked out, their firm was good. They're still getting the pack for Christmas. And there was a bit of rum in there, this and this, so and so on. It was a big firm, and sometimes I had to work, but they also had 3 shifts. So at 12 o'clock at night, in the midnight, I also could have a big meal too. So, and if I couldn't go home 2-3 days because of the snow, right? I stayed there. They had also a room where there's stretchers and beds, sort of, you know. And yet the company looked after us because my father worked there. And in fact, the firm was like, what do you call it? They sometimes came in and looked at how we are surviving. So all of 3 of us, Franz, Otmar, and me, learned their trades there, and the others somewhere else. But this mother did. Otherwise, she was as sharp as can be. But she, well, how will you say? She did everything up for us, but it had to be the hard way. But we was our survival, and what do you call our future, really speaking, right? And so it's a good and the bad, right? But you had to be sharp, very sharp, right? But if she wanted to chase someone and give her a bit of belting like the girls do, right? They would run up to his place and come in. It was a shelter. And he would stay at the door. He said, you don't come in, all right? And that was their shelter until she cooled down.